Let's talk about React state, why it is used, what is the role and everything. State is very important concept in the React.js because except state functionality you cannot implement dynamic website or dynamic mobile application. This is what I can understand. So there are different concepts related to state, different ways to handle the state. I will tell you the concept very quickly. State refers to the internal data of a component that can change over time. So that at one particular point of time, one variable or one object or one array can have some data, but it can change whatever the user actions happens in the application. So for example, if let's say in the e-commerce application, user wants to order something which is let's say one quantity as 1, but later he wants to update that quantity to 2 or 3 or whatever. So at that particular point of time, the quantity of 3 is the particular state of that particular product ordering. So you need to understand state is a temporary thing. State can change, right? Because it's a data, and data, dynamic data can change. This is what I want to tell you. Now, state allows components to manage and track their own data. So there is a data in the components. It may be in the form of variables, objects, arrays, or whatever. And state is a technique which allows that component to manage and track their own data. And it can be spread in the different components also. So state makes data dynamic and responsive to user interactions, because if we update the state to product count as 3, so we know that we have to show that to user as 3 only, right? Even though it is changed from 1 and then 2 to then 3. So we can show and dynamically implement the state according to and display the data to the user. Now state can be managed through various methods. There are some different techniques actually which are for the same page, which are for the complete application, and which are good, which are bad, depending on the use case also. So when I say bad, that means some use case, but everything we have different options to implement the state. So one of the best and very popular method is Redux store. It is a third-party library. It is not developed by React, but we can use this Redux, and it is very popularly used by different companies and different applications. Second is React's own context API. So this context API is a technique which is developed by React, and it has some drawbacks, some good points. It's very simple to implement actually. This is the one of the best thing I can tell. And Redux is not very simple. You have to remember different things like actions, dispatch, and reducers, and all those stuff actually. Different things are there. You have to remember that. And in the context thing, it's very simple actually. Okay. And then Mobex store is also, it's like a Redux store. You can implement that in your application. It's an alternative to Redux. And then prop drilling is one of the method wherein you can maintain the state of any particular variable or something, any data. So prop drilling can be done from prop to parent to child. Means parent component to child component. You can pass data, and you can also get the data from child to parent. It's called as event emitting, which I have already created video on. So you can stay tuned and you will see in this video also. Then useState hook is there. useState hook is used for implementing state in the same page. For the same page, you cannot pass that useState data to some other page. That's what I want to say. So one component is there, so useState will work for that one component and one page only. So this is all about state actually, and there are different type of implementations, like one is functional implementation and one is class based implementation. So after 16.8, React.js encourages us to use the functional implementation only. As you all know, what happens is you need to create the functions and maintain the state. Whatever, maintain the state and write the component and implement your application. So in this application, if you see, let me explain you what is happening over here. If you see, we have imported useState here actually. Okay, so useState hook is imported using import statement. Then you are calling this method useState and passing the initialize value. So this can be null, this can be empty, this can be 0, this can be true, this can be false, whatever you want the initial value of this count variable, the first one. This gives us two information. One is count, that means the actual value, and the second thing is function. It is an anonymous function, we give it a name actually. Set count is a name given to the anonymous function. But what this function will do for you, whenever you pass the parameter, then it will update the value of this count value. This is the beauty. So I am giving you example here. Increment counter function is there. What it is doing is, it is updating the count by 1 every time, because it is what it is supposed to do. Okay. So if you see the HTML here, JSX I mean, so increment button will be displayed, on click of which it will call this increment count button, which will call this one increment count functionality, I mean handler, and then it will check what is the value of this. The first time the value is initialized as 0, so first time it will make it 0 plus 1, that means count will contain value as 1. Second time you click, it will make it count plus 1, means 1 plus 1 means 2. So this is the way state is used here in the application. Okay, so this is the functional implementation. Now in the class based implementation also, if you see, there are very simply it is the same thing is implemented. There is a let me start this. Component is imported, and the constructor, this is initialized by count as 0. You see here this dot state. So since this is a class based, you need to use this variable here. Okay, this prefix, and increment function is called, on click of which it will call this increment counter. What it will do, this dot set state, the same thing, this dot set state, and it will increment the counter by 1. That's it. So initial value was 0, and 0 plus 1 will be 1. And if you see, the display of that count variable will happen here. As soon as you update the value, it will be displayed here dynamically, because this dot state dot count is coming from this place. Initially it will show as 0, but as soon as you increase it, it will be incrementing and displayed dynamically over here. This is a class based approach to implement the state. Okay, so this is what I was to quickly tell about the state actually, and let's move on to the another topic. Thank you very much.